Hi, everybody. Welcome back. Just a quick thing before we get into this episode. For some reason, something happened with our recording and there's no video for this episode. So I'm just using stills from the film. And of course, our witty banter is still available via audio. So no need to skip this one. Just have a listen.
Welcome back, viewers and listeners, to another episode of Dudes of the Dead podcast. We're pretty deep into season 8 now. Almost the holiday season.
We getting close to the end.
A few more 2025 films to talk about, including today's feature, which is Shelby Oaks. But first, as always, we will be having our quick cuts, and I'll let Leatherface Lee go first.
I will give you my quick cut in a second, but I just want to shout out this lovely, lovely shirt that I have on here, which is Bride of Frankenstein.
That's a nice shirt.
And I say that because I started to watch Del Toro's Frankenstein this weekend. I haven't quite got through it yet. So maybe that'll be another episode or a quick cut. I don't know. I'm waiting. I'm withholding judgment for now. Waiting to see what.
Yeah, I want to ask you about it, but I guess we'll wait.
Yeah, we'll wait.
Because I read some article the other day, like why Netflix is deciding to bury its film that it spent however many millions of dollars on. So there's some kind of controversy around it. I think,
interesting. Because I didn't. That's interesting. I didn't anticipate. I didn't notice that it was buried because it's like right on the front page of Netflix as a.
Yeah, I forget where the article was from, and maybe it's not true, but
yeah, or maybe in different regions it's buried or something. But it seems like in Canada it's front and center. So my quick cut is Ghoul, 2015. IMDb 4.6, Rotten Tomatoes 33 and 22. That's going to tell you exactly what my response is going to be. So it's either Peter Jackal or Jackal, but I think Jackal because Peter spelled P-E-T-R. I think he's Eastern European. Jennifer Armour is Jenny. Jeremy Isabel is Ethan. And Paul Tracy is Ryan. While researching a cannibalism epidemic in the Ukraine, which is actually what drew me into this movie.
I was going to ask you what possessed you to watch this film.
3 Americans come face to face with the evil spirit of the region's most violent serial killer and cannibal. Okay, so despite saying I don't like found footage, this is a found footage film in Eastern Europe, and the Rotten Tomatoes score says it all. It's forgettable. It's Blair Witch inspired with less flair and thoughtfulness. It's just like all over the map. They don't. So here's a critic's take. Ghoul couldn't decide whether it should be about cannibals, serial killers, ghosts, or demons.
Oh no!
The found footage trivializes rather than reflects the horrific events that serve as the film's basis. So that's an avoid. I took a bullet for you. It's terrible. Pass it by. Even if you're a found footage fan, this doesn't have much to offer you. So I would say leave it in the dust.
All right. Well, that sounds pretty bad.
Yeah.
But I'm going to one up you.
Awesome.
Do one that's even worse. And my quick cut is Strangers Chapter 2 for 2025. So yours was a what on Internet Movie Database?
4.6.
Okay, this is 4.7, so I got you beat there.
Okay.
Or you beat me there. But this is a 14% critic score and a 28% audience score. So anyways, Strangers Chapter 2, Maya, played by Madeline Petch, traumatized but still alive after the events of Chapter 1, wakes up in a hospital only to discover the masked killers aren't done with her. As terror spreads beyond her familiar surroundings into an entire small town, Maya must survive once again with nowhere to run and no one she can trust. Not even the boar. Okay, so I would say this is easily one of the worst horror films of 2025. This film proves... So with the first film, I could see that they were trying to maybe do this remake, a requel kind of thing, and so you could forgive that maybe the story they really wanted to tell was in Chapter 2 and 3, and they had this awkward retelling thing. So, but no, it turns out this thing has no reason to exist whatsoever. This trilogy is a complete waste of time. There's no story they wanted to tell. It's just her running away from these 3 killers, except for they felt the need to heighten the series by involving a dramatic showdown between Maya and a wild boar.
And having seen the movie Boar, there was a reason for a boar to be in that film. Where does that?
This is what the franchise really needs. We need
a boar
fight with a wild boar, which is so far removed from the idea behind The Strangers and random serial killers and people showing up in your door and home invasion, and now you're gonna have a dramatic showdown with a boar in the woods. Which, sorry, spoilers for Strangers Chapter 2.
But you weren't going to watch it anyway because it's horrible. So
it is a complete waste of time, in my opinion. So I was willing to give Chapter 2 a shot. I think Chapter 3 I can't even. I feel bad for Madeline Petch because she is a good actress, and her performance is good, and I feel really bad for her that she decided to attach herself to this abomination dumpster fire of a franchise. But yeah, this is one of the worst things I've seen in a long time, and it was more disappointing than the first chapter because I thought maybe they would why are you making a whole franchise if you have nothing new to bring? So why make it a trilogy? That's crazy.
Am I correct in remembering there's the original Strangers?
Yes.
Then Strangers Prey at Night.
Correct.
Then Chapter 1,
That's
Chapter
right.
2. Oh my God.
And a Chapter 3 coming. So this takes place right after Chapter 1, and it's just her running away from them some more with a boar encounter.
Okay, so this isn't really a fair question. Is it worse than Blood and Honey?
I mean, it's higher budget.
I mean, at least that one at least I did. I kind of went in thinking this is going to be hot garbage. But with a high budget and with,
exactly
a high profile release, you think it's going to be.
Yeah, directed by Rennie Harlan, who's done Die Hard 2 and Cliffhanger. Yeah. And yeah, I would say it's not fair to compare them because the level of expectation is so different. I think no one goes into Blood and Honey expecting a horror masterpiece. Whereas I think The Strangers, the first one, had such a high pedigree that there was a lot of expectation behind this, and maybe an idea that they had a cool idea to explore other than.
I mean, the first one was really good.
It's one of the best horror films of all time. I think.
I mean, it's super creepy. It had good performances. Is it Scott Speedman?
Yeah.
And Liv Ullmann or Liv Tyler?
Liv Tyler, yeah.
And it was super creepy just having those people show up and do something randomly. And this is something I think we say this almost every episode. Just leave it at one good film.
Yeah.
Don't create a franchise just to milk the audience and create garbage one film after another.
Which is too bad because it really pisses on the legacy of the original Strangers, which is really good. So anyways, it's awful. Don't watch it. Again, I watched it so you don't have to.
Now, to be fair, if we look at The Exorcist, the original, 2 was hot garbage, but 3 was a bit of a redemption because Exorcist 3 is better, certainly better than 2. It's not better than the first one, but they improved it after the sequel.
The difference being though that those are kind of each independent films, whereas
this is meant to.
It's actually meant to be the same film. And my understanding is that in the end they're going to release a supercut of all 3, Chapter 1, 2, and 3 as one film. So it's meant to be one cohesive story, whereas The Exorcist is different directors, different stories, different.
And we have what's his name to blame from Halloween? Ryan,
oh right,
is it Ryan Green? No,
something Green.
Anyway,
it gets me.
That's his doing. With the trilogy of Halloween after 10 Halloween movies.
I mean, if it were good, that's fine, but it's so bad. So even if the third chapter was good, in the supercut, you would still have to sit through 3 hours of trash before you maybe got to the good final act. So I think I don't know what they were thinking with this. Anyways, this is our quick cut.
Yeah, sorry.
Avoid The Strangers Chapter 2.
Avoid.
All right, so that brings us to our main feature for today, which is Shelby Oaks.
Why didn't you give it to the police?
I needed to see it for myself.
Riley Brennan is now missing. She was last seen in Shelby Oaks.
There is a dark and deeply haunted history in the woods of Shelby Oaks. My sister isn't the first to go missing.
Now, Shelby Oaks, of course, is well known as it was directed by Chris Stuckman. I'll start with a synopsis and then I'll give a bit of the background to this. So, Mia has spent years haunted by her sister Riley's disappearance. Riley vanished 12 years earlier while investigating the creepy abandoned town of Shelby Oaks with the paranormal YouTube group, The Paranormal Paranoids. When unsettling new footage resurfaces, Mia reopens the case and confronts the possibility that the childhood demon she once dismissed might actually be real. This was directed by Chris Stuckman. Main cast is Camille Sullivan as Mia and Sarah Dern as Riley Brennan. This has a 5.8 on Internet Movie Database, a critic score of 55%, and an audience score of 54%. So very lukewarm. Now, of course, Chris Stuckman is a YouTube reviewer, probably the most prominent YouTube reviewer.
Yeah, arguably, yeah.
Making his own film, which is very cool. I did make just a brief history of the production of the film. Should I do that?
Yeah,
now?
for sure.
Okay. So on March 1st, 2022, Stuckman launched a Kickstarter campaign with an initial goal of $250,000. By the end of the campaign, it raised $1.4 million from 14,000 backers, which is good. After initial cut was completed, Mike Flanagan of House of Haunting Hill and Dr. Sleep came on board as an executive producer. So Flanagan actually had followed the Kickstarter campaign and was a backer, which is kind of cool. And he reached out to Chris Stuckman offering notes and mentorship for the post-production. During post-production, Flanagan provided feedback on editing, sound design, score, and more, kind of helping Stuckman refine the film. And then in July of 2024, Neon acquired worldwide distribution rights for the film, so we were able to watch that everywhere. You and I were unsure whether we'd be able to see it in a local theater.
Yeah.
And it did come to like our small town on Vancouver Island, which is cool. And then finally, Neon financed a 3-day reshoot to add more gore, violence, and practical effects, things that Stuckman originally couldn't afford to include.
Fair.
So that was kind of the production history. This is a very unique beast in that it is made by a YouTuber, and a very famous one at that. So I'm curious for you, how much of your appreciation for Stuckman as a reviewer, because I would say you and I are both fans, did that affect your bias or how you reviewed this film, maybe relative to any other film that we do?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I don't know if I can detach my little bit of fanboy element. However, I'm not a fanboy of the film. So here's kind of maybe making a longer story longer. I saw this quote and it really spoke to me. Stuckman is in the training wheels phase for directors. So I'm excited for him that he had this YouTube channel and he got the backing and he did the film. But, and I will mention more about this later, I think he kind of went, if you followed his reviews, I think his film neglects some of the advice he gave filmmakers in his reviews. It's like, well, didn't you say that probably wasn't a good idea?
I've noticed a few people lay that criticism.
Now, again, to be fair, that quote that I said, he's a newbie director. And I mean, even Mike Flanagan, I don't think could save this film from itself. I think there were some really challenging bits, but I think he shows promise. And I think there were elements of this film that were good. And as we go through, I think I'll mention some of the things I didn't think were as good.
Nice. Yeah, I 100% agree with everything you said there. I think you would agree. I think we would both say that good on him. That's really impressive to be a YouTuber and actually have a worldwide release for a film you've created. Yeah. I think you and I both went into this rooting for Chris Stuckman, I would say. Yeah. So I think we are fans of him as a reviewer, and like the idea of him making a film was really cool. So yeah, I want the best for him, and I think that's really cool. He able to do that in itself is a huge accomplishment. But I did find myself when I first watched it trying to like soften my critiques, and I found myself thinking, if this wasn't Chris Stuckman, if I just went and watched this film from another director, would I be thinking this way? And if I was honest with myself, I would be saying no.
Yeah.
So I think if I'm honest with myself, I didn't like it as much as I was trying to convince myself that I did.
Yeah, I 100%. I didn't like it as much as I wanted to like it, because I wanted this to be a hit out of the park for Stuckman, and I wanted it to be like blow me away awesome. And it was not that, I have to say.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I won't say it now because I think it gives away too much, but there's a great quote from Ebert.com.
I have one too. Okay. I don't know if it's...
I'll mention it later.
Sure. But I wonder if we have the same one.
Yeah, you may go...
Does yours spoil something though? I don't think mine gives anything away.
Well, it's not really a spoiler, but it does mention other films. Like it compares it to other films. And it's like, okay, well, that kind of gives away the premise of the film a little bit.
Okay, so I'll read my quote from
Okay.
RobertEbert.com because I think it's different. Smart in concept, but frustratingly loose in execution.
Yeah, that's not the one I had. I had two different ones, but yeah, okay.
And I would say I kind of agree with that.
Yeah, me too.
Not that the film is bad. Like I didn't walk out being like, that was awful.
No, not at all.
But it, I don't know if it was very good either. It's kind of
exactly.
has some good elements, but I feel like it didn't come together.
No.
So the sum of, yeah.
And I mean, it seems like to me, and maybe I'm misspeaking, but it seems like I've said this, and we've said this a few times in the last few reviews, is that it didn't really nail down what it wanted to be. I mean, is it a found footage film? Is it, I don't know, like a mystery thriller? Is it a demon? Like it didn't land somewhere where you could say, okay, I see where this is going with little bits of elements of these other things. But to me, it just threw a bunch of elements at the story.
Exactly.
But it didn't really know what it wanted the story to be. I didn't feel anyway.
No, and maybe the idea of like him having his story, but then Mike Flanagan coming on, but then Neon coming on, like I could see how like adding those extra layers and them going back and adding new things maybe muddied or watered down the original vision.
Yeah, because I wondered that myself. Like, would this have been better if there had been the original low budget?
Yes.
And he hadn't had other higher budget things come on board and then change the expectations of what the final film. Like, I think if it had been $250,000, and because I read a quote that like after the Neon came on and Mike Flanagan, they reshot some things they didn't have the budget to do, but that doesn't mean it made the film better.
No, like we've seen lots of low budget films like Be My Cat or something, right? Which works within the limitations of a small budget and plays to the strengths of that. Whereas, if you start low budget, then you're adding in higher budget elements, but then, it really complicates your overall vision.
Yeah, exactly. I think it confused the overall cut of the film by having these different visions of what the film should be.
Yeah.
And especially by having, I mean, wonderful that Flanagan came on and mentored him and gave him some suggestions.
That is super cool.
But then if Neon hadn't jumped on board, maybe that would have been better just to have, because now you've got a studio interest, the executive producer and the director. And I'm sure there were competing visions of what this could have been or should have been, or, however you want to say it. Right.
Yeah. So I think we're going to avoid plot spoilers for the first half, but are we going to talk about kind of the structural spoilers?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know that you can avoid that.
So if you want to know nothing, then maybe just go
Yeah.
watch it. Most people have probably seen it by now. Okay, so what do you think of the first act being a found footage mockumentary style, and then the second and third acts being a conventional film?
I think I would have preferred one or the other. Either start as a conventional film and just tell a backstory without the found footage, or carry on with the found footage film, like maybe have her sister in her search also be filming as a document. I don't know, like whatever the context you want to give it. But I just felt that was one of the things that I felt was by switching from found footage to conventional, that didn't really jive with what I thought the film was trying to be.
Yeah, and the way it did it, they felt like two very it didn't feel cohesive.
No, not at all.
It felt very disjointed. Which half did you like better?
Probably the first.
Okay, see that I think maybe I like the second better. I found maybe the mockumentary part to feel very much like an homage to Blair Witch Project or something.
Yeah.
And like the tropes and stuff that it's doing were maybe a bit tired at this point in 2025.
That's exactly what I have too. And to be fair, I mean, I'll come back to what Ebert said because now that you've mentioned Blair Witch, I can mention it. It's like Stuckman willfully cribs from superior works like Blair Witch and Lake Mungo.
Right.
Which I think is a fair point. And I mean, there's no question that Stuckman is a fan of the genre, is well versed in the genre, is intelligent about how he approaches the genre. but like a president who makes promises but then realizes what the restrictions are once you come into office. I think it might be the same thing for a director who has a vision, especially an indie director, and then goes into it and realizes, oh, I have all these other masters I have to serve.
And I can see wanting to try something new and bring it to the table. And I don't know, I don't hate the idea of maybe somehow mixing found footage with
just how it was done didn't work.
Yeah. Which comes back to his point about maybe loose in execution. Let's maybe talk about likes. So is there something we can go back and forth, things that you liked?
Despite the disconnect between the two styles of filmmaking, I thought Camille Sullivan, the lead, was pretty good. There was one section, I'm sure you caught it too, that I was like, really? You're not going to do anything about that? Oh my
God.
So
we have to talk about that. And so I'm sure we're talking about the same thing.
Yes, we will talk about it. Okay. So my notes were the first half started. I liked how the first half started with found footage. I found the second half, although there were some cool scares and some cool scenes in the second half, I found that I was drawn more to the first half in terms of the storytelling. The pacing was okay. The music, nothing to write home about. I mean, it was, meh. I thought the two lead females I found pretty believable. Both Riley and Mia. Can't remember who's Riley. Sarah Dern.
Yeah.
I found their performances pretty good. Most of the male performances were pretty lackluster. Like her husband, the other two guys in the Paranormal Paranoids.
Yeah.
The only one, and because I like him as an actor, but Keith David as what was he supposed to be?
He was only in it for
like 5 minutes or something. It's
not
very long.
Not very long.
It's not very long. He's a prison warden.
That's right.
Ex-prison warden. And he kind of gives us some backstory about one of the characters.
Yeah, sometimes I have a hard time discerning between where is it the acting versus the writing, and along that spectrum.
Yeah,
because I think the acting was good. I think you're right. I think the writing was not very good.
Yeah, I think the writing was a little weak. Yeah.
So the reason like the male performances seem so lackluster is I feel like they weren't given much to do.
That's fair.
And there was no character given to them, and some of the dialogue didn't work for me, but maybe that wasn't the actor's fault. It's the writing.
That's true.
And I think a lot of the criticism I've seen of this film comes down to Chris Stuckman maybe has a good eye for cinematography and some filmmaking techniques, but he's maybe not the best writer.
Right.
Because I found across the board, I wasn't very invested in any of the characters, which I think is a problem.
No, because it's supposed to be, at least it seems to me, to be a film. The basic core story is these two sisters.
Yeah.
And one of them, goes missing or whatever, and then the other one's searching for her. So yeah, the challenge I think was the core of the story was these two sisters, but you didn't give anybody around the story enough good material to make it worth having that like in my mind, some of the characters could have just not been there for what they did.
Yeah, like Mia's character and her relationship with her partner is almost like non-existent.
Yeah.
Like it's alluded to, but he's almost a non-character, which
like I wonder if they should have even had him.
I don't think they should have.
Yeah.
I think they wanted to have that little bit about them like trying to have kids so they could weave in something later, but
yeah.
So I think that really did not work. And then they spent the first act building up the sister more.
Yes.
But then when Mia comes on, I don't know. Something about the character development and the writing of the characters, I feel like, was one of the reasons that the film didn't work for me.
Yeah. And I mean, we've, again, spoken about this many times. I think part of the thing is, do you have enough background of Mia and Riley to care what happens to either one of them, right? Yeah. Like, it's Riley, I think, is the one that is the YouTuber. And I mean, to be fair, I liked that nod to the early YouTube days.
Yeah, I didn't hate that.
Yeah, because I mean, Stuckman was around. I mean, that he started maybe not in 08 or 09 or whenever YouTube started, but he was around in the early days, and he's been doing the reviews for a long time.
Yeah, and he had Emma on there, the Spooky Astronauts, that Australian reviewer. And did you like that, or does that pull you out of the world of the film? Because...
No, I kind of like that because I recognized her.
Yeah,
and I'm like, okay, well, there's another. Like I found. I don't know if this is the reason that he did it, but I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt. I thought, oh, that's really cool that he's taking another YouTuber and giving them a spot in the movie.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I liked that part of it. Didn't take me out of the film, but I also, I don't know. There were, like you say, there's just something that didn't work. It didn't gel
Yes.
as a whole.
I did like the cinematography. There's some nice shots. Like I remember when she's running out of the prison and they had the like
Yes.
overhead shot,
Yeah.
and I thought so. I think technically the cinematography was good. I thought the lighting was good. Like there was parts where there's that cabin in the woods and the way
Yeah.
it's lit is kind of eerie,
Yeah.
and so I liked that. I also like, and this is interesting. So in some ways, he does a good job of avoiding horror cliches that he criticizes in some regards.
Yeah.
So I don't think he has any of the really telegraphed cheesy jump scares.
No, that's fair. But he does have jump scares.
There's a woman yeah, he does, and I saw that criticism. There's the part where the woman's running out of the prison and she gets in the car.
Yeah.
I was just waiting for
Yeah.
trying, and the car started, which
Yeah.
which never ever happens in a horror movie.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
you're so trained that I was just waiting for when she turned the key to get the
Yeah.
and it wouldn't start, and it just started. She drove away.
Yeah, which
Like,
is awesome. Yeah.
good job. Yes, thank you. That's so awesome. So avoiding some of those things and the idea of sort of hiding the monster in plain sight, but
Yeah.
very like in the background. And you almost have to, apparently he shows up in the film a lot, but most of them you really have to look.
Yes.
So I think I caught some of them, but I'm sure there's lots that I
Yeah,
missed.
I think the same. I don't think I caught all of them.
So I kind of like that he is, I think to what you said earlier, he does critique certain horror films for overusing certain techniques and cliches. In this case, I think in some cases did a good job of avoiding those or trying to bring something new to the table.
Yeah.
Like there's been a few films recently that have that more, the monsters kind of hid in the background and it's scary when you notice
Yeah.
it. I kind of like that. And so I kind of applaud him for some of those.
So coming back to the idea of the, first half and second half, and you said you maybe appreciated the second half better. What did you think about that storyline though in the second half with the house? I don't want to give away too many details until spoilers, but the woman that she meets in the house and that whole I don't know.
So like if that was just like a horror short, I think I would have really liked it. So if the movie started when she finds it and then ends with a revelation, in a vacuum, I feel like that was one of the strongest parts of the scene of the film for me. But then it feels very disconnected to the rest of the, like it's almost like we're gonna get here, but the way they built to it, and that's what you're saying. Like there are good creepy moments and there's effective horror stuff in here, but the whole thing just doesn't really come together.
Yeah.
So if that was just a horror short, that 5 minutes in the middle in the woods, I think that would be a great short film. But it doesn't. They don't do a good job connecting it to the fabric of the rest of the film.
Yeah, I mean,
in my opinion,
he wasn't necessarily.
And I'm being a bit cryptic because I feel like I don't want to spoil it.
Yeah, and I mean, he wasn't necessarily telegraphing where the story was going, but I had a pretty good inkling. Okay, if we're here, this is probably how this is going to turn out.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't a surprise to go, oh, really? Is that what happened to her?
And did you find it cliche? So there's kind of like in Blair Witch, right? You've got the little stick things and you've got like markings on the wall. And do you like that, or did you feel like, okay, whatever?
I liked it in 2016 or whatever. Blair Witch is 2009, maybe, or even earlier, 97,
like late 90s.
Yeah. Okay. So if you're going back 25, 30 years, yeah, awesome. But it just doesn't work. There's been too many found footage style films that have done the same thing.
Yeah.
Now, if you're in parody territory, have at her. Like I think the stick figures and like if you're doing, a haunted house or one of those films that's a parody, I think that works perfectly. But if you're trying to make a serious film with those same elements, it's lost on the audience because we've seen it too many times.
Yeah, and there's like you can pay homage to that and maybe have it subtly there, but it is one of the main.
Yeah,
he's really drawing your attention to it as like a main
factor
in the fear, I guess. So yeah, it's maybe a bit unoriginal.
Yeah, I mean that's like he talks about the RogerEbert.com talks about the Blair Witch and Lake Mungo. Like, yeah, those were early found footage style films that worked because they were early, because it hadn't been done, because people it was fresh for people.
Yeah.
Now it's just cliche, like a lot of other things, right?
So what was your favorite part of the film?
Wow. in terms of a moment, I think when she goes back, her sister goes back to the prison.
Okay.
And she's in the cell.
Yep.
And then she has something happen to her. I found that to be a pretty gripping moment.
Yeah.
And for me, a little bit creepy. I mean, I anticipated something was going to happen, but I didn't predict what did happen.
Right. Okay.
So I kind of liked that moment.
Nice. Yeah.
What about you? Favorite?
Yeah, I did find the revelation of what actually happened to her sister was a lot darker and maybe more twisted than I was anticipating. So I was like, oh damn, that's actually really dark and twisted. And that kind of did like give me chills a little bit. I was like, oh, that's pretty dark. I don't think, unfortunately, it was like woven very well into the film, but still like the concept of it, I was kind of like, oh yeah, that's not what I was expecting. So I appreciated that moment. Yeah, that was probably my favorite.
Do we have more to talk about before we get into spoilers?
Yeah, see, a lot of things I want to talk about, I think, do kind of fall into the spoiler territory. I'm curious, they allude to this amusement park quite a bit in the beginning. And I know some of the criticism of this film is like, maybe he doesn't tie up some loose ends, or things are introduced and not really resolved. I didn't get, was there any significance? Because it kind of all ends up being about the prison in the woods.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like they don't really circle back to the amusement park or why that was significant.
Well, and the other thing, one of the other criticisms that I read that I tend to agree with is, so you introduce, this is not Disneyland. So you introduce this, theme park or whatever, and then you talk about, oh, the town became a ghost town after, like, that thing wasn't big enough to sustain a whole town.
Yeah, good point.
And all of a sudden, this is like a ghost town in the middle of nowhere because you had a Ferris wheel and a couple of, like, that part I thought was silly. Like, it just didn't make any sense.
Mm-hmm.
I get the idea of, okay, well, it is a creepy atmosphere to have that, there's been lots of horror movies done in carnivals or fun houses or, this, that, and the other thing. And they can be pretty creepy. But the premise that this thing existed and then the whole town just died.
Well, and because it is kind of a good setting for a creepy, I thought they might do something with it, and they didn't.
They didn't do anything. Yeah.
Yeah. So do you think the one thing I think we both wanted to comment on, is that a spoiler?
I think so.
Okay.
I think so.
Okay.
So we should probably go into spoilers.
So yeah, I mean, I think in terms of what I thought was good and not good, in terms of non-spoiler, I've kind of covered. Do you recommend Shelby Oaks?
Okay, this is going to be a long caveat. If you're a casual moviegoer, then I would not recommend Shelby Oaks. However, I think if you're a Stuckman fan, if you're interested in filmmaking, if you're interested in a new director, a newbie director, and kind of seeing, okay, does he have a career here? Where does this go from here? I think it's an interesting entry point into his career. But as for the average viewer, I don't think I think they're going to see those inconsistencies and be unsatisfied with how it resolves.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. So if this was not directed by Chris Stuckman, it was just some other guy, and this was a movie I watched, I think I would go away and say, like, don't waste your time.
Yeah.
But you're right. If you're interested in Chris Stuckman and you want to see like what a YouTuber can do making a full-length feature film, then it is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think he does show promise. I'm excited to see what he does next, if he does anything else. And maybe he can step away from some things he's not as good at, like writing, and focus more on the directing or the cinematography or whatever. So, yeah.
And I hope this makes enough money that he's given a second chance.
That I think it will do.
Okay.
It sounds like it's done pretty well just because everyone is so interested in seeing it because it's him.
Yeah, fair enough.
But yeah, would I recommend the film otherwise? No.
Okay. So we're on the same page.
But it's not, Strangers Chapter 2.
No.
It's not awful.
It's not awful.
Not worth going out of your way to see as well.
Fair. Yeah.
All right, spoilers?
Spoilers. Okay.
The blood on the face.
Oh my God. Seriously. So, okay. Do you want to set up this scene or?
I just was so shocked in the so she's in her living room and then she opens the door and there's a guy there. This guy pulls out a gun and shoots himself in the head and the blood splashes all over her face. Fair enough. But then like an hour later, she's like talking to the police officers as they show. And she's like having a conversation with them with blood
Yeah.
still over her face.
And nobody says to her, "Hey, do you want to take a minute and clean yourself up?" Like,
Yeah. And then later that afternoon, she's like having tea with her husband in the living room, still with the blood all over her face. And then later that night,
yes.
it's like dark out. Hours later, they're like having a glass of wine. She still is covered in this stranger's blood, which is like caked onto her face. I don't know what he was like. That was so obvious. I like was gobsmacked.
Me
in
too.
the theater, being like, "How is this possible?" Like, as any human being, I think having someone else's blood on you.
The second it's over, you would want to go wash that off, if not sooner. Like, I didn't get it at all.
So I don't know if he was going for like she was so traumatized that she
Right.
couldn't have the like the wherewithal in her mind to like think to wash the blood off her face. It's the only thing I can think that he was thinking, because practically speaking, just it was laughable. And I think unfortunately for this film, like I could see. Like if there's a new scary movie, they will parody the shit out of that. Like you'll have some person with like blood on their face for the entire movie, and this will get made. This will get parodied
for sure.
It's that laughable. So I don't know how someone like Chris Stuckman wouldn't catch that.
Yeah, because
he must have had a reason, and maybe someone asked him. I don't know.
Yeah, and maybe, like you say, maybe he was going down the trauma route, thinking, okay, well, she wouldn't be able to think that clearly, so she's just. But man, oh man, it just went. It was
but maybe her husband would say like, "Hey, maybe you want to clean this stranger's blood off your face,
or let me help you clean up if you're too traumatized. Like I can tell that you're, not really in touch with reality. Let me get a wet cloth and wipe you off or whatever." It was just, I don't know.
Like it was already a little shocking when she was talking to the police officer, and then after she's sitting on the couch, but it was still daytime. But then once it was nighttime, and she's like changed her clothes, and she's at the dinner table, like.
And it would also be, I mean, being a fan of thrillers and procedurals and all the rest of it, if that had been somebody's blood, but the deceased person wasn't right on her front doorstep, they might have said, okay, we need to take samples and whatever.
Sure.
But then they would clean her up. But the body's there on her front porch. There's blood all over the siding of her house. It's not necessary for her to keep blood on her for any reason whatsoever.
Yeah, like was it a continuity error or like I don't know, but it sounds like a minor detail. But
it's
watching
so glaring.
it was I was like, what is going on?
Totally.
And so many people have commented on it. So, anyways, that's something.
So the one I'm gonna go back to my quote. So this is from ebert.com. Stuckman aggressively employs techniques that we've seen work better in other films, which I would agree 100%. Like, especially if you go back to early found footage.
Yeah.
I mean, even Blair Witch 2, which I rewatched a few days ago, it's already tired in Blair Witch 2.
Yes.
Like the little stick figures and the little symbols and all the rest of it. Like already at that point, it's like, well, this has been done really well in the original. It's kind of like what we're talking about with Strangers. Just leave it alone.
Yeah. I do wonder though if it raises the issue of, as a reviewer, it's always probably easier to critique something than to do it yourself. Yeah. So you're almost setting yourself up for failure, because I'm guessing at the end of the day, a horror director's toolbox for techniques you can use to scare an audience is limited. So
yeah,
there's only certain things that you have to rely on to do that. And maybe he realized that, oh yeah, like if my movie's going to be scary, I have to use some techniques or tropes to make it that way.
That's a really good point, actually, because I have thought about that. Is like, well, if I were to make a film, it's certainly easier to sit back and watch somebody else. Like, I mean, it's much easier to be an armchair quarterback than to actually do the thing yourself.
It is.
And I get that. But to be fair, also to us, Stuckman was exactly in that situation, a few years back, where it's like, yeah, I'm a YouTuber. I think I've got enough information to make my own film.
Yeah. And that's where I feel like he half succeeded and half failed, because he did try. You could see in some points he was trying to
absolutely
break away from the cliches.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, sorry, jump scares are a pretty standard technique used in horror films to scare your audience. And he maybe realized that.
And I don't mean to make this comparison as diminishing Stuckman in any way, but and I'm using this comparison because these directors are so rare, but like a Polanski or a Kubrick or somebody like that, they have a really clear vision of their films for themselves, and they stick to that vision no matter what. And Kubrick especially, is like, no, I don't care if I have funding. I don't care if I have whatever. This is what I want to do.
Yeah.
And I'm going to need 100 takes to get it. That's what's going to happen.
And I'm going to traumatize my actors.
Exactly. Now, again, in all fairness, as his first film, Stuckman can't do that. And the reason I'm making the comparison is I think he has a very good grasp on the genre, but I don't know that he has that extraordinary director's eye like somebody like Polanski or
totally
right.
And we're comparing him to some of the best directors
100%,
of all time.
Yeah, and I'm not.
No, but you're right.
Yeah.
And this is the tricky part, right? Because as a reviewer, it's possible that one week we could review The Shining and the next week we could review Shelby Oaks.
Yeah.
So on the one hand, you are sort of comparing them in the same light and holding them to the same criteria. But knowing behind the scenes that like, yeah, this is his first film and he was a YouTuber and, he's not made 20 films or 10 films.
Yeah.
This is like his first film. So you also have to bake that in a little bit.
Fair, yeah.
But it is, but this is not The Shining.
No. And I do like what you said earlier about, because I noticed, I can't remember the second person, but there's a dual credit for writing, Stuckman being one, and I can't remember who the other person is, but I liked what you said earlier.
I think it was his wife.
Oh, is it? Okay.
I think they wrote it together.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there again, so maybe, as you said earlier, he should like relinquish those duties to a specific writer, maybe somebody who's already an industry writer who has a track record, and you focus on the directing and your vision of what, because yes, is it possible? Sure. There have been great writer director combos. I don't think it's as common as separate writers and directors.
Yeah, and I think you and I have pointed out before, like M. Night Shyamalan is someone who is like an amazing director, but sometimes his writing sucks, and so his films suffer as a result. Yeah. Whereas if he was willing to let someone else do that part, you might have a better film in the end.
Yeah, and I think we've talked about that. Like the ones that he hasn't written or had a writing credit, like they're better films than the one that he either co-wrote or wrote himself. Because I wonder too whether doing both of those things kind of splits your, what's the best way to say that? Like splits your mind in terms of, okay, I know I was thinking this when I was writing, but as a director now I'm thinking maybe I should do this. And so I wonder if that clouds your vision as a director because you were also a writer. Now, arguably the case could be made that focuses your vision because you were part of the writing process, but I'm not sure that worked here.
No, because if you have a cohesive team of specialists who can carry out the vision of each other, then it's probably going to be a better thing overall.
Yeah.
But if the cinematographer has a totally different idea than the writer, which has a different idea than the director, then that could become a problem.
Now, there is CGI in this, yes?
Yes.
And was that problematic for you?
Yep.
Okay.
It always is. Yeah, if it's not perfect, it's one of the dogs, I think, or like the hellhounds.
Isn't it so, because we're in spoiler section, you see this demon or whatever it is throughout the film. How do you feel about how they the ending of the film?
Yeah, I wrote this down. I found the window thing didn't work for me, falling out the window. I'm like, really? And I don't know if I've seen this a lot recently, but there's The Exorcist where they fall out the window. There's Child Play where the girl gets pushed out the window. There was The Presence we watched earlier this year where someone gets pushed out a window. And then this one, someone falls out a window. And the way they fall out the window too is always very like unconvincing and convenient.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I like bump into you and then you like fly out the window and die. Yeah, I found the window thing. I just kind of rolled my eyes like, oh, like maybe if it had a really good ending, it might have come together. But again, this is another area where I felt like the ending was super disappointing. What'd you think?
Yeah, I'm on the same page. Like I found it was like, really? That's how you're going to do this? Yeah. And again, I mean, I'll admit that I'm an Exorcist fanboy. But
do you think he was deliberately trying to
reference
The Exorcist?
Because so to me, in my mind, The Exorcist works not only because it's one of the first ones to do that. I mean, it's 50 years ago, but also because there was a reason, right? Father Karras had taken the demon into himself, and he wanted to die with the demon in him, so jumped out the window. So there was a
and the gnarly stairs at the bottom of the window was like,
and there's a clear reason why, and it worked within the context of the story.
Yeah.
We've talked about the original Child's Play. I mean, I thought that was so lame.
Totally.
The window scene.
Yeah, usually it's lame. The Exorcist was great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think he is deliberately, this is like a love letter to his favorite horror directors, or
I would think so.
do you think he's actually trying to include these things on purpose?
I can't imagine how it wouldn't. I mean, he's so good with the genre, and he's he's got a lot of reviews. More often than not, I agreed with his reviews and how he critiqued films. So being the movie buff that he is, I would find it hard to believe that he wasn't.
Which is tricky. Like, how do you honor another film or another director, but then at the same time not look at like you're copying them or you're retreading the same techniques? But it's something about them just didn't work.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, if you are going to pay homage to your favorite directors or your favorite scenes, it needs to be subtle enough that it's an Easter egg where like, Uber fans will go, oh, that's cool. I see what you're doing there. But the average viewer go, okay. But they're not like, oh, wow, I've seen that 10 times.
Yeah. And when it's the conclusion to your film,
totally.
It's not an Easter egg. It's like a major thing you're including. Yeah.
And even so, the underground part underneath the house where she finds her sister.
Yeah.
That was very reminiscent of Heretic to me.
Oh yeah, totally.
Now, I don't know. Did they go into production around similar times? I don't know. Probably Heretic was first because it was released 18 months ago.
I think he really liked Heretic. So
yeah, and fair enough, right? Like if you love how a director does a scene, trying to emulate that is fine. But I think you have to keep in mind, how obvious are you being? How recent is the film? How much are viewers going to go, oh, that's just like so-and-so's film that came out a year ago? Like, I don't know. If you're gonna reference Metropolis that came out in 1922, unlikely that most people have seen it, so you're probably on safe ground.
Yeah.
But if you're gonna reference something that most horror fans have seen,
The Exorcist, Blair Witch Project, those are
yeah. So then you have to be a little bit more careful, I think.
Yeah, what did you think of the cabin in the woods scene then? Because I think that one is very polarizing. Like in a way, I felt like that was the strongest scene in the movie in terms of it kind of having that creep factor, but then it does other things that.
Yeah, I mean, this was a thing. So once they get into the house, yes, there are, creepy things or whatever, but
like I thought the old lady in the rocking chair and the way she's talking, like I thought that was creepy.
Yeah.
In a vacuum.
I mean, part of it is two things bothered me about that. One was, really, this house has been here and this woman's living here and nobody has like come across this. And the second one is how she accidentally finds it where this dog kind of leads her to, and it's like, okay, that to me, that just didn't work. It's like,
and there's like photographs and albums.
Yeah.
And like who took all these pictures? And I don't think people like this are going to be like doing their Hallmark moment photographs and putting them to albums. So a lot of that all felt a bit convenient, even though the aesthetic of it was creepy. And if I'm not overthinking it, it worked.
Yeah.
But as soon as you start thinking about it, it doesn't make much sense.
Yeah, totally. Like just the, inconsistencies, like there's black mold everywhere, but in some places, like, she's eating crackers that I think would be probably mushy and moldy if the rest of the house was all black mold, like just little things like that offer you, there's a creep factor there, but not when you start thinking about the other elements.
Yeah. So that's where Stuckman, I think, is talented in terms of he knows how to like light the scene and make it like the mood is there and the tone is there. Like it felt like horror, but then the other elements of it don't work. Yeah. Which seems to be just how this film plays out overall. There's one other thing I was going to ask you about, I think. No, I can't remember. Did you have anything else you wanted to say?
I mean, not really. I mean, I said this off the top, I think. I mean, I really wanted to like this film more than I did because of Stuckman.
Oh, I know what it was.
I really wanted to have a lot of good things to say. Like, I was really hoping that this film would blow me away in the theaters, and it was disappointing in that sense. but there are snippets of potential there that you can see. Maybe if he has, I wonder, like, again, there's so many elements about how much control did he have of the edit? How much control did he have over, what, because I can imagine you've got a studio coming in like Neon, and they say, okay, we're going to give you $200,000 to do these, but you have to reshoot these things and you have to include this part. Otherwise, we're not going to fund it. I think that's probably standard for many studios to have. You offer with one hand, but then you've got the stick in the other going, you better do what I tell you to do.
Yeah.
So I wonder, I guess my wonder is if he had total control over everything and he had the budget that he wanted, and I realize this is pie in the sky, would it be the film that I wanted it to be?
Maybe. But I wonder if he's not a well-rounded enough talent to do all the different elements required to do a film on that caliber. But maybe if he had one role or two roles, then yes.
But I mean, if you look at, even going back years to the original Evil Dead, for example, that's so low budget. It's ridiculous, but Raimi manages to not only infuse it with some really horrific scenes and some pretty graphic stuff, but also some comic levity and some really good performances. And there's just, it's not an excuse that you didn't have the budget.
No, but I wonder if that's where you bounce up against this idea that like the people who make it in Hollywood are actually very like one of a kind talented. And the Ridley Scotts and the Tarantinos and whatever, that like your average movie critic or YouTuber, like it's harder than it might seem easy to sit here and make all these critiques.
Absolutely.
But then when you actually get in the director's chair and you're doing it yourself, it's a lot harder than it looks.
Yeah. And I think that's a really good point. I have no delusion about how difficult it is to make a film with any budget. And arguably the more money you have, the harder it is, because you have to make choices about, like, when you have no budget, you can say, well, all of these things are off the table because there just isn't the budget for it.
Yeah.
When you have the money, then you have to decide, where am I going to spend the budget? And often it's spent on cheesy CGI.
Yes.
And it ruins an otherwise good film.
And going back to our episode where we did the film festival with the shorts, like maybe Chris Stuckman can make an amazing short film. And I think like he has the eye and knows the genre well enough that like that cabin scene, maybe you build a 5-minute film or a 10-minute film out of that, and that could have been amazing. But jumping from like, I'm a YouTuber to full-length feature film,
that's
being
really
compared to other like of the best films of the year.
Yeah, and that's a really good point. I think if he had started with a short,
which I think he maybe had one short to his name, but
did he? Okay,
but maybe I don't know what that was or how amateur it was, but
yeah. I mean, again, it is easy to sit here and criticize, but
that's the game.
That's the game, right? When it's like anything, if I go perform, if I go busk in the Inner Harbor, I leave myself open to critique, right? Like, totally. That's horrible. You suck. Stop singing. So when you put something out there, you leave yourself open for that critique.
Just go read any comment section on any YouTube video. You know this to be true.
Exactly.
Actually, one other thing too. So I think another frustration where people were saying that he's doing the things that he critiques, and the biggest criticism of horror films usually is, what are you doing? You're an idiot. Like, why is your protagonist acting that way? So when she goes to the haunted prison by herself at nighttime, when you have a husband who's apparently just chilling at home, not cleaning the blood off your face, that seemed really ridiculous to me. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like,
me too. You didn't tell anybody that you were going there. Yeah. You didn't ask anybody to come with you.
Yeah. And I can't think of a more terrifying place to go at night than an old abandoned prison.
Yeah.
And at least the YouTubers went as a group, and she's going alone, knowing that like crazy stuff is happening. So like, again, at that point in the film, I was like, really? That makes no sense. Like, you would get your husband to come with you for sure.
Yeah. And even when she's in the prison,
or the other investigator,
I remember thinking this, if I knew that there was something sketchy about this prison, even if I only half believed, am I going to walk into a cell that's whatever, 8x8 or 6x6? So A, I've got no room to move anywhere if something happens.
Yeah.
And B, if the door closes, I'm hooped. I'm in this abandoned, dark prison that nobody knows where I am. And apparently it's haunted. And it's just like, yeah. So there were those elements for
Maybe
me.
go in the morning.
Yeah. It's like, hey.
Not in the middle of the night. Yeah.
No, I mean, and maybe if there was a reason for doing that, that could have been part of the story, is because there were lots of sort of narrative exposition elements. So maybe she could have told us why she was going at night, because she wanted to prove something to herself, or she wanted to find, but yeah, it was one of those things like, why are you doing that?
And again, you could see Chris Stuckman making that exact, like if he reviewed this film, he would probably make that criticism. So it's interesting to me that he didn't see that, or you would expect him to account for those sorts of things. Yeah.
I mean, this, I sort of, I mean, this has been sort of mentioned already, but so more than 25 years after Blair Witch, a director needs to do far more with found footage to scare an audience.
Yeah.
And even I read a criticism even about the found footage part, that early YouTubers did not look that good. It was pretty sketchy in the early days of YouTube, right? Because it wasn't an established genre. People, well, certainly your phone cameras and stuff were not good enough to produce video like they are now. Most people didn't have a camera.
This would have been like a super pro YouTube back in the day. Yeah.
So sure, those standards have risen, and it's becoming, so production value has risen over time. But yeah, this early YouTube version is almost like a, mid-teens, something that would happen 10 years or more later.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
I did kind of like the scenes where she was in the bedroom, like creeping out into the hallway. And like there's a lot of times in this film where things work. Unfortunately, like for every one of those, there's also something that doesn't work. So the whole film ends up feeling kind of disjointed and disappointing. But
yeah, I mean, that was definitely one of my notes to myself, was there are those individual moments, but they don't come together to transcend
100%
those individual moments. So
I think that summarizes like this film.
There you go. That's all we need to say then.
All right.
Maybe we could have just said that at the beginning.
Well, we're almost at an hour, so yeah, that was a really short review. Yeah, so I think anything else you want to
say? No, I mean, except I would like to say thank you to Chris Stuckman for having the courage to make a film when you've been a critic and you know what fingers are going to get pointed at you, but you still have the courage to go ahead and do something. And I think that's worth noting.
Yeah, so all these critiques are at the film, but I still think it's awesome that he made it.
Absolutely.
And that's super cool that he made it. And the fact that like most people, YouTubers, will never make a full length feature. So that's an accomplishment, and he should be applauded for that.
Absolutely. Yeah. And most people, myself included, don't often have the courage to do what they have a vision to do. And so for a long time, he said he's wanted to do a feature. He did the Kickstarter, he got the money, and he did it. And yeah, I just think that in itself is an accomplishment.
You are a coward. It's true.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Unlike yourself.
Anything else?
No, that's it.
Hey, we had the courage to do this.
That's right. That's right. Okay.
All right. Well, thanks for watching or listening, and we'll see you in the aisles. Oh, wait.
Oh, sorry.
We
won't see you in the aisles.
Before we leave, I don't think it's ever happened before where we went, oh, no, wait. Do we want to say what film is next, or do you still have to decide?
My first thought was doing Frankenstein, but since I haven't finished watching it, I'm not sure if I want to make it an episode or not.
Okay, that's it.
So it may be Frankenstein. And
we'll see you in the aisles.